Okay, so I printed this paper. It's on page 43 of the Best Friends Cosmo Cricut. And here's the page. Now I'm going to trim it down to 4x6, and I just use my Fiskars. So I just use my Fiskars trimmer. I don't have a lot of space, so I just do this hanging. So 6. Close this. Just so you know, hopefully you could see, there are markings on this old Fiskars trimmer up to 3 inches. The end of this orange is 4 inches. The end of the base is 4 1/4. So I'm going to line them up to the end of the orange marker. So this is a 4x6. I'll be right back after I cut them down. Okay, I have them all trimmed down. A 12x12 sheet of paper will yield 6 4x6 pieces without any waste, which is pretty cool. See, this is how bright the color is, and there's even looks like stains in the paper, which is perfect because I'm doing a recipe card, and if a recipe card is used and loved and aged, it'll have stains on it. So let me go grab my chipboard, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have the background paper cut out, 4x6. I have my chipboard cut out, also 4x6. And this is just recycled backboard from a pack of cards and envelopes. And I cut it on my small Fiskars cutter as well. You just run the line a couple of times, flip it over, run it a couple of times again, and literally just fold it. It's kind of like, this behaves a little bit like sheetrock. As long as you score it sharply, you could just break it. And you could see the scores are pretty clean. There's a little bit of cleanup that I need to do on this side, but I'll do that with a nail file after I glue all the pieces down. So I already have my Scotch adhesive, quick dry adhesive turned upside down, so it gravity does for me what I need it to. And I'm going to glue the paper side down first, and then I'm going to glue the back, which is the actual recipe. So just make sure that the tip's not clogged. Let me work on one at a time. Put these all aside. And I adhere the glue on the paper rather than on the chipboard. So I'm just going to run a small bead all around. And it's not perfect, but because of the amount I'm putting on, and then just squiggle in the middle, it will force it out to all the spots. And I have my cap turned upside down, so for my next use I'll just keep it turned upside down. It's flat enough to stand that way. So now what I do is I take the chipboard and the piece of paper, and I butt them down on my table, because I know that's the bottom. And then with my finger I feel it along the side. This way you get a perfect match every time. And because this dries so quickly, I'm just going to run my hand on it. And that's pretty much it. So let me do the second one. And the reason I'm doing 2 right now is the rest of the cards are already done and even mailed. This is one I'm keeping for myself, and one I'm going to give away to one of you. So once you watch the video and leave a comment, what I'll do is I'll do a drawing for one person to get one of these recipe cards. So again, I have the glue on the paper, take the chipboard and the paper, butt them up on the table, and then feel with my fingers along the ridge. Oh, I just moved it. I did what I said not to do. So you butt it up at the bottom, feel with your fingers on the edge, and that adheres it evenly. Pretty easy, right? Alright, let's do the backs, and it's the recipe. So I'm going to grab the other one because it's completely dry now. And again, I'm going to adhere it to, put the glue on the frame here. Put the glue on the paper rather than on the chipboard. And that's really a personal preference. It's not like one way is correct versus another. If you were doing a larger piece of paper, you could use a brayer to spread the glue evenly. Now, because this does not matter which way I have it, I'm not specific, so I put the paper down on the mat, line up the sides, and that's it. That couldn't be any easier. So now, before I adhere anything else or add the ink to the edges, and I'm going to be using Distress Ink and Walnut Stain and the Essentials Distressing Tool, because I have a larger surface area. Ordinarily I would use just a little fingertip dauber, but because I have a lot of both sides to do. So I'll be right back once both are glued and trimmed down with the file. Okay, so I grabbed my Tim Holtz Tonic Studio little craft knife to cut off any of the little bigger pieces, and the basic gray precision file set, which I'm going to use to just file off whatever else is left. Let's see. There's really not much of anything that I need to use my blade for. So all I'm going to do is use the large file to get the edges. And depending on how much you want this let me just move this so it doesn't get dusty. Depending on how much you want this distressed, you could use the distressing tool if you want the rag edges. I just want this to be kind of clean and finished off. I don't want any scraggly pieces of paper. I'm just feeling with my finger where there might be some edge issues. And using it at an angle, going down on the paper, you're going to take off any of the raggedy edges without pulling, and go in one direction only. Because if you go back and forth, the glue that you just adhere to the paper, it's going to start to lift up. So it's easier to it's safer just to go in one direction. At an angle, you won't be grabbing the other piece of paper on the other side. So I think that's sufficiently done, so I'm going to put that away. I'm trying to use my tools and put them away immediately, that way they don't overtake my desk space. So now that all of this is sanded, I have both of these all ready to go. I'm going to take the Walnut Stain Distress Ink and little felt Velcro pad, and literally holding it in my hand, I'm just going to go over the edges. More concentration in the corners, because that's what will be exposed and get discolored over time. I'm not using the technique where you lie down and then roll it down, because this is dimensional. It'll start to pull up the paper. So I'm just holding it in my hand. Just going to give an even coverage, and here I'll show you the difference between the one completed and one not. Adding a little of the edging gives a dimension, so I'm just going to do a quick little swipe on this side only because it's already, the paper already has distressing coloring to it. I'm just adding a tiny little bit more, and very haphazardly. Okay, so that one's done. And now we're ready to adhere, and I'll do this one off camera. Now we're ready to adhere the image. And this is the side that has the recipe, so the vintage image is going on this side. And I already cut it out. I got the image on Google search of vintage Valentine. I was looking for teacups, and this is the cute image that I found. It was a non-copyright image, so I grabbed it and then resized it in Word to fit 2/3 of the 4x6. I put it on dimensional adhesive, and this is 1/8 dimensional adhesive strips, and then it's just going to go here. So I'm just going to peel off the tape backing and adhere it to the card. And I want most of the corner covered. There it is. And now I'm going to take my Spica Set B, and I'm going to use the garnet, which is this color. I think that's the garnet. Yep. I'm going to go over some of the red lettering and text, and let me see if I could zoom in. All these little bubbles. See that? Gives you shimmer. Not really changing the color too much because I just picked a color that was similar to what's printed. And you can also use a clear one. There's a clear one in here as well. If you just want the glimmer, it's the 00 clear one. I wanted a little extra pop of red. I like to turn the card so it's following natural movement of my hand, so I don't go out of line too much. And this image is totally forgiving because it's already very, you know, child drawn. Talk amongst yourselves. I know this is boring, but I've had several requests for real-time videos, so there's it. Add a little ellipse to her. So that's the Spica Garnet from Set B. And now we're going to add a little tag. What did I do with it? So I have, I'll be using Colorbox Fluid Chalk ink in Chestnut Roan, sorry, for the little handprint, or the little finger point. And I'm going to add that right around here, and then below it add the biscotti, which I also printed on craft cardstock. And as you can see, I have, the stamp is so small, I literally, oh, let me zoom back, I literally used it on a little ink pad, on the cover of the ink pad. So I'm just going to add that here. There you go. Easy as that. So that's the Colorbox ink. And this is my personal information for the swap, which I think I'm going to add with the dimensional tape just to give it a little lift. I'm using the Precision Martha Stewart scissors to just cut a little strip because they were within reach and I didn't want to bump the camera. And I know it's easy to use tweezers, but because I have nails, I just kind of grab corner and pull. So, and I'm going to tuck this under here just a little bit, like that, and put it in at an angle, because I'm going to have one more element going under here, which are these bingo chips. They're little plastic blue rings with metal wire, and I'm just going to adhere this with Fabri-Tac permanent adhesive, and I'll be right back. Okay, so the last step is to add these little rain dots that look like splatter, because if you've been using a recipe card for many years, there'll be something on it. I have a couple of just a little mimicking what splatter might look like. Let's see, I have one of each size. And they're self-adhesive. So, and these are from Cloud9 Design. So that's it. That's the completed recipe card. And if you leave a comment below, I will draw one winner, and this is the one that the winner will receive, because it's the one that has the Your Paper Pantry Ning address and which group this was made for, because it's not part of the giveaway group. And if you have any questions about any of the products that I use, stop by my blog. There's a complete list of all the products, including their names, as well as links if they're still available, with the exception of things like this little vintage item. So, or if you have any questions, please leave me a comment or send me a message, an email. Thanks for watching. Thank you everyone so much for watching.